how do you know if your body might not be getting enough vitamin B12? Well, the truth is, the signs often appear really slowly. How many times have you woken up feeling just utterly exhausted, even after what you thought was a full night's sleep? Or maybe, lately you're feeling just a little bit unsteady on your feet. Or simple activities like carrying the groceries or climbing the stairs suddenly feel significantly harder than they once did. It's actually incredibly common. We tend to brush these things off, don't we? Many people just mistake these gradual changes for, well, just getting older. We look in the mirror and we really have to ask ourselves, are you just getting older, or is your body actually missing something vital? Because it is so easy to write off that persistent fatigue, a bit of brain fog, or heavy legs as the inevitable cost of aging. But what if it's not? What if your body is desperately trying to tell you that it's running on empty when it comes to one specific, absolutely crucial nutrient? Paying attention to these changes is exactly what can help you have an informed conversation with your healthcare provider. And what's really fascinating about these sneaky warning signs is how disconnected they all seem. We've got persistent fatigue right alongside that pins and needles tingling in your hands or feet. Some people even say their feet just don't feel as sensitive as they used to. Maybe you've developed balance problems on uneven ground or noticed your skin looking unusually pale. Throw in a fast heart rate, shortness of breath, muscle weakness, and sudden memory or mood changes, and you've got a very confusing medical picture. Now, while these issues can definitely have lots of different causes, this specific cluster of seemingly unrelated signs often points to a singular hidden culprit in the body. And that culprit? A deficiency in vitamin B12. So vitamin B12 is a crucial water-soluble vitamin that is absolutely required for proper red blood cell formation, neurological function, and DNA synthesis. But here is the catch, and it's a huge one. Your body cannot make vitamin B12 on its own. Literally cannot do it. We rely entirely on our diet to get it. So if we don't consume it, or if our bodies can't absorb it, our systems slowly start to misfire. Let's look at exactly how that happens, starting with your nerves. To understand why you might feel those weird tingles, we've got to look at myelin. Think of your nervous system kind of like the electrical wiring in a house. The myelin sheath, that's the protective rubber insulation wrapped around those electrical wires. When you don't have enough B12, that insulation actually starts to degrade. Without it, your nerves are exposed, they're prone to damage, and they start misfiring signals to your brain. That is exactly why a lack of B12 causes that strange numbness or that pins and needles sensation in your hands and feet. Okay, but what about the exhaustion and the racing heart? Well, that brings us to megaloblastic anemia. You see, B12 is vital for making healthy red blood cells. Without it, your body produces cells that are immature, oversized, and frankly, just terrible at their job of carrying oxygen around your body. Because your tissues are quite literally starving for oxygen, you feel exhausted. Your heart starts beating faster and faster to try and pump whatever oxygen it can find, which leaves you feeling short of breath just from walking up a flight of stairs. So, you're probably wondering, how much do we actually need to keep this physiological engine running smoothly? According to the official National Institutes of Health guidelines, for most healthy adults, the recommended dietary allowance is 2.4 micrograms daily. I know it sounds like a tiny amount, micrograms, but as we're learning, missing that tiny daily target can have massive, massive consequences. So, the crucial point is figuring out who is actually missing that target. Let's look at the prime suspects for a deficiency. If you are over the age of 50, it is especially critical to discuss your vitamin B12 status during your regular medical checkups. But it's not just about age. Because B12 naturally only occurs in animal products, vegans and vegetarians are at a significantly higher risk. Plus, people with gastrointestinal issues like Crohn's or celiac disease, or folks taking certain long-term heartburn medications, are highly vulnerable. Why? Because often it's not about what you eat, it's about what your body can actually absorb. Just check out this statistic. Between 10 and 30% of older adults develop a condition called atrophic gastritis. Basically, this condition decreases the secretion of hydrochloric acid in your stomach. And here is the mechanical problem. Vitamin B12 in food is bound to protein. Your stomach acid is the chemical key that unbinds the B12 so your intestines can absorb it. If you don't have enough stomach acid, the B12 just passes right through you, no matter how much meat or dairy you're eating. Crazy, right? And this is where the science gets truly fascinating, and honestly, a little alarming. Cutting-edge research from the Quadram Institute recently asked a big question. Can technically normal B12 levels still lead to hidden brain aging? They looked at older adults whose B12 levels were low but still technically above the official threshold for deficiency. And what they found was that these individuals were still showing markers of neurological damage and cognitive decline. Their bodies were starving for B12, even though standard tests said they were totally fine. As Professor Martin Warren from the Quadram Institute points out, this study underscores the need to reassess what constitutes an optimal level of vitamin B12. And look, this isn't just academic hair splitting. We're talking about the absolute urgency of addressing subclinical deficiencies before irreversible nerve and brain damage occurs. We really need to catch this before it translates into permanent memory loss or mobility issues. To put that into perspective, just look at how different countries define a deficiency. The UK sets the threshold for deficiency below 180 nanograms per liter, while the US sets it slightly higher at 200. But if researchers are finding cognitive decline in people sitting just barely above these numbers, it strongly suggests that a huge portion of the population might be suffering from a hidden, creeping deficiency simply because we're relying on outdated, overly conservative metrics. And if that wasn't complicated enough for you, here's a genuine surprise. High levels of folic acid can actually mask a vitamin B12 deficiency. If you take high doses of folic acid, which, by the way, is super common in many daily multivitamins, it can actually correct the anemia caused by B12 deficiency. Your blood cells will look totally normal. But, and this is a massive but, it does absolutely nothing to stop the neurological destruction. So, your blood looks fine, you might feel a bit less tired, but your nerve insulation is still silently degrading in the background. Because of all this masking and the ongoing debate over thresholds, how do you actually get a reliable answer? Well, standard B12 blood tests can sometimes miss early or mild deficiencies, but there's a specific metabolic marker called methylmalonic acid, or MMA. When you don't have enough active B12 in your cells, your MMA levels rise sharply. Asking your healthcare provider for an MMA test can often catch a cellular B12 deficiency that a standard serum test would completely miss. The encouraging news is that if a deficiency is identified early, it can often be treated super effectively under medical supervision. Okay, so once you know you need it, where do you get it? Well, unlike some vitamins that are widely available in fruits and vegetables, natural vitamin B12 is found in foods that come from animals. Cooked clams and beef liver are absolute powerhouses, delivering massive amounts per serving. But excellent everyday sources include lean beef, salmon, trout, sardines, tuna, chicken, turkey, eggs, and dairy products like milk, yogurt, and cheese. For people with healthy digestive systems, the B12 in these foods is generally really well absorbed. But what if you follow a vegetarian or vegan diet? Since B12 doesn't naturally occur in plant foods, getting enough B12 can definitely be more challenging. That's why many healthcare professionals recommend being strategic. Nutritional yeast is fantastic. Just one fortified serving can hit your daily target. Fortified breakfast cereals with plant-based milks, yeast extracts like Marmite on toast, or fortified soy yogurts are all highly recommended ways to ensure you aren't leaving your nervous system vulnerable. Now, you might be thinking, hey, I'll just buy the strongest B12 pill I can find. But remember, more isn't always better. Taking large amounts of supplements without medical advice really isn't recommended. Your stomach produces something called intrinsic factor, which binds to B12 so it can be absorbed. But your body only produces enough intrinsic factor to absorb a tiny amount, about 1 to 2 micrograms at any one time. The rest? It literally just gets flushed away. So the goal here is maintaining healthy levels consistently, not simply taking the highest dose possible. Keeping your legs energized. Everyday habits for overall circulation. As we gear up to wrap things up, we're going to look at everyday habits that can improve overall circulation and help your legs feel stronger and more energized as you age. Addressing a vitamin B12 deficiency is really just the first step. Based on research from the American Heart Association, here is a simple roadmap for keeping your extremities strong. Step 1 is exactly what we've been discussing. Talk to a doctor and sort out your B12 to protect your nerves. Step 2 is establishing everyday habits to promote blood flow, things like staying hydrated and avoiding prolonged sitting. And step 3 is utilizing optimal exercise programs like structured walking routines specifically designed to maintain peripheral artery health so your leg muscles actually get the oxygen they need. We've covered a lot of ground today in this explainer, from the insulation on your nerves to the acid in your stomach. And I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to consider. Look at your plate, look at your daily habits. Is your aging, that fatigue, that brain fog, that unsteadiness, actually entirely in your control? By paying attention to the subtle warning signs and advocating for the right tests and nutrients, you have incredible power over how your body feels today and tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining me, and stay curious.